はじめまして、南と申します。
This is a lavish Korean adult film that intertwines an ethical story of a couple's infidelity with Jung-ji's conspiracy, featuring numerous passionate scenes that provoke excitement. The protagonist, Sho-yeon, is the deputy curator of a future art museum. Despite her ordinary background, she is determined to enter high society. The future art museum is preparing for a special exhibition reopening. Curator Hwalan will soon take her position at the foundation, and this exhibition will be crucial for Sho-yeon's promotion. The special exhibition will include works by emerging artists, which is the highlight of this exhibition. Sho-yeon mobilized all his connections to find the most suitable candidate, but to his surprise, the position went to the obscure Jo Jung. Sho-yeon was puzzled and asked the curator why this was the case. Hwalan was enraged, and the competitive Sho-yeon was upset, mocking him incessantly. This life feels like a recording, one without China, just a glimpse. That impact. Sho-yeon returned to the office feeling frustrated after nailing something. The assistant reminded Sho-yeon that tonight she invited the artist to the alternative space gathering. This is the new bar opened by Sho-yeon's friend. Sho-yeon naturally wants to support it. She will have to face it sooner or later, so she decides to go tonight and clarify things with them. Sho-yeon's husband Tae-jun is an economics professor at the university. Today, he was invited by a TV station to discuss how landlords and businesses respond to rising rent. Also present is opposition party member An. Unlike others who criticize landlords or merchants, Tae-jun proposed the establishment of a community bank to create targeted low-interest loan products for struggling small businesses. This sparked a huge reaction, and everyone thought Tae-jun was being unrealistic. However, as soon as Tae-jun spoke, he hit the nail on the head.
어느 쪽 편을 들어야 표를 더 얻을 수 있을까? 정치인들이 그것만 생각하니까.
What surprised Tae-jun was that his former student, Salmei, was in the audience. After graduation, she successfully entered the government and is now the secretary to NUN. These words made Salmei a fan of Tae-jun. That night, Sho-yeon appeared on time at the alternative space. As soon as the new artist saw Sho-yeon, they rushed over, prompting her friends to help her escape the crowd, and the two went aside to have a drink. The new painter Shen Jihao, just back from Paris, walked in. A friend enthusiastically wanted to introduce Shen Jihao to Sho-yeon, but she politely declined. What friends don't know is that Shen Jihao is actually Sho-yeon's boyfriend from university. They haven't seen each other for many years since their breakup. Sho-yeon stepped outside to smoke, followed by a familiar paparazzo.
근데 사실이에요? 저우정? 세점사지 그랬어. 한점은 빠졌잖아.
Regarding the transition to politics, Sho-yeon sensed that Tae-jun wanted to follow him, and Tae-jun quickly nodded in agreement.
때가 되고 기회가 오면.
근데 나는 자기가 때를 기다리는 사람이 아니라 때를 만드는 사람.
Worried about uncertainties in her promotion, Sho-yeon decided to talk to Hwaran's husband, Chairman Han, to gauge the situation. Under President Han's leadership, Future Group has many businesses. The art museum is just part of his vast commercial empire. His marriage with Hwalan has long been merely a formality. The two are having more and more fun, but due to their binding interests, they can only turn a blind eye. Sho-yeon requests President Han to intervene so she can successfully advance.
그래서 내가
파트너요. 믿고 맡기면.
Han vacillate on his position. The rent increase issue is escalating, and small business owners are gathering to demonstrate, sitting in protest to pressure the government. In solidarity with them, Tae-jun also came to the scene, and Jaomei represented Councillor An to comfort everyone. At that moment, an old man with white hair approached Tae-jun and asked to borrow a lighter. The old man's name is Jung Shin-yu. He is the owner of a nearby snack shop. Tae-jun handed him the turkey and turned to pour coffee for the old man. Our Tae-jun desperately extinguished the flames on him. Meanwhile, Sho-yeon was undergoing a medical examination at the hospital. The doctor reminded Sho-yeon that her uterine fibroids had grown again, but she seemed unconcerned. The two walked into the hall, where the TV was playing news about Tae-jun sacrificing himself to save others. Sho-yeon was startled and hurried to the scene. Fortunately, Tae-jun only burned his wrist. Sho-yeon advised him not to act so impulsively in the future. Tae-jun's phone suddenly rang.
여보세요? 예, 맞습니다. 민국당이요?
The next day, Tae-jun arrived on the shop suit at Kuomingtan headquarters. Councillor An introduced Tae-jun to senior political representatives, who affirmed his idea of a civic bank, calling it a significant proposal for the Nationalist Party. He invited Tae-jun to join the Republic Party to participate in local elections as a candidate. Suddenly, Tae-jun was at a loss for words.
저 기회 주신다면 열심히 한번 해보겠습니다.
여튼 우리 차려봅시다.
Unlike Tae-jun's smooth sailing, Sho-yeon's situation is much more challenging. The new artist has made their decision on Zhou Zhang, but Hualin insists that Shuyan must keep good alternatives. But now everyone has been offended. Who else is left for Shuyan? She thought carefully, her mind only filled with Shen Jihong for her future. Shuyan went to Shen Jihong's studio. Shen Jihao has been busy in the recording studio lately. He wants to combine dance and painting. After he finished, the two went to a nearby cinema. Shuyan was straightforward, hoping that Shen Jihai could collaborate with the art museum. Zheng Jihao did not agree immediately and promised to consider it carefully. Under Zheng's arrangement, Taijun visited the hospitalized Zheng Xinyu, inevitably attracting numerous media spotlight. Xiaomei reminded Taijun to get close to the elderly, as it would make the photos more beneficial for promotion. Taijun felt a bit awkward, but still obediently acted as the elder's mouth. Everything moved. The reporter quickly asked Taijun what he said.
감사하다고. 예, 시민은행이 꼭 성공해야 된다고.
With massive exposure, Taijun's support rate skyrocketed. After knowing that Xiaomei was once Taijun's student, Counselor An arranged for Xiaomei to be Taijun's secretary. On this day, Taijun took Xiaomei to meet Bai Guangxian from the Deary Group, who was interested in the Citizens Bank. Everyone exchanged pleasantries for a while, then Bai Guangxian temporarily left as another group of guests arrived. Xiaomei handed Taijun a gift box containing an exquisite tie clip. Actually, Taijun has long seen Xiaomei's feelings for him.
너 나 좋아하니?
Taijun and Shuyan began attending some high society parties. With the backing of political stars, they are no longer unnoticed and can exchange a few words with the celebrities present. Taijun introduces Xiaomei to Shuyan. Women never lack intuition. Although Taijun calls Xiaomei just a secretary, Shuyan senses their relationship is complicated. What Shuyan didn't expect was that she would be here. I saw Shen Jihao. He walked over with Taijun to greet him, and the two men politely shook hands.
요즘 집사람이 엄청 꼬신다면서요.
열심히 꼬셨더니 반은 넘어왔네. 여기까지 온 거.
Driver Xiaozheng informed Taijun that Representative Zheng and Councillor An have arrived. Taijun hurriedly went over with Xiaomei. Also present were Bai Guangxian and another unfamiliar man. Bai Guangxian introduced the man as the CEO of an angel investment company who wanted to learn more about Citizen Bank at Bai Guangxian's recommendation. Taijun immediately stood up enthusiastically.
누가 먼저 앞장서 주셔야.
근데 아직 확정한 건
As a newcomer to the upper class, Taijun is working hard to adapt to the topics and pace of this group. After a few drinks, Taijun's face was flushed as he looked at the lovely Xiaomei, and his feelings started to rise. Under the influence of alcohol, the two went to a room. Meanwhile, Shen Jihao invited Shuyan to the balcony, where she mentioned an art exhibition in Paris next week, and hoped Shuyan could go with her. Shuyan knows herself. We must seize this moment. Shen Jihao silently agreed, and the two passionately kissed on the balcony. The next day, Shuyan and Taijun went for their usual morning jog. Due to exhaustion from last night, Taijun struggled to run after just a few steps.
어제 무리했나봐. 그 정도 체력으로 국회의원 되겠어.
아니 무슨 체력장으로 뽑는다니?
Yan asked about Taijun's harvest last night. Taijun nervously changed the subject. According to the plan, the museum was to go to Paris to take a photo of a painting by Zhou Zhang before the special exhibition, a task originally assigned to the deputy director, Mayor Min. Mayor Min is the heir of the Huaying group, thus he has always been valued by Hualin. Hualin asked Shuyan to stay at the headquarters and assist Mayor Min whenever needed. Shuyan wants to secure this opportunity to go to Paris.
요즘 분위기에 대기업 끼어있는 곳이 있어야 되지 않나요? 예민한 시기엔 전문가가 가야죠.
Hualin was successfully persuaded and decided to send Shuyan to Paris. Mayor Mi, upon learning this, immediately came over in anger. After all, everyone knows the auction is fake. Money laundering is the real goal. Mayor Mi mocks. Shuyan is willing to take on any job.
재벌들만 겁없이 사는 줄 알아. 생각 좀 해보세요. 미련스럽게 가슴만 키우고.
Shuyan finally arrived in Paris. He first went to Shin Jiho's art exhibition, where he saw the unexpected appearance of Suyeon, making Shin Jiho unable to hide his joy. After the film festival, the two went to the market to buy groceries. Shen Jihao took Shuyan to the apartment, claiming he wanted to record a song for her. Looking at Shen Jihao busy in the kitchen, Shuyan felt a bit
너는 왜
distracted.
결혼도 안 하고 있는 건데?
나라도 싱글이어야 이렇게라도 볼 거 아니야?
Shuyan momentarily didn't know how to respond. Shen Jihao placed his carefully grilled salmon on the table, and the two happily enjoyed the dinner. After dinner, looking at the lovely Shuyan, Shen Jihao couldn't help but take a photo of her. Shuyan reached for the camera, and the two laughed and played together, eventually collapsing onto the bed. What Shuyan doesn't know is that, as someone with a peculiar hobby, Shen Jihao placed the camera on the bedside to record the moments of intimacy between the two. The next day, Shin Jifi accompanied Shuyan to the auction. Shuyan spent 10 billion to buy a painting by Zhou Zhang, causing continuous gossip at the scene, while competitors angrily left. Unexpectedly, after leaving the venue, the rival who was just confronting Shuyan approached to greet her. It turns out that both the auction helpers and the competitors were arranged by the gallery.
그걸 전시에 몇 번 돌려 소개하고 나서 은행에 담보 잡고 대부분 대출받.
This move made Shen Jihui exclaim 666. In Shuyan's absence, Taijun is thriving, socializing with various high-profile people, while also living a carefree life with Xiao Mei. Early that morning, Xiao Zhang, who had secretly loved Xiao Mei, arrived at her building to confess, but unexpectedly saw her come out of the apartment with someone else, so he quietly hid in the car. A few days later, Shuyan and Shen Jihao returned to the country. However, as soon as they landed, Shuyan was taken away for investigation on suspicion of money laundering. Prosecutor Tao Ying sat down across from Shuyan and asked about the option in Paris. Shuyan avoided giving a direct answer. Focus on Guizhou. Wine doesn't need management or concern. It won't work in China's daily stock market. Zhou Yan began to mention the deals she was involved in, each with reputable names, and Tao Jian naturally knew she was applying pressure on him. Upon learning that Shuyan was taken away, Daijin hurried over. He called Tao Jian out, urging him to release Shuyan quickly. Who knew that this Tao Jian was such a hard nut? He confidently spoke of Shuyan's money laundering and casually mentioned Taijun's civic bank, asserting that there must be illicit dealings between the Gormandang and the Future Group.
영화 보면 보통 그렇게들 하던데.
검사님한테 필요한 재능은 아닌 것 같습니다.
합리적 의심입니다.
Taijin doesn't want to discuss this. He repeatedly asks when they can release him. Zhao Jian dropped a body that had been there for 48 hours. Just as he stepped out, his boss stopped him. To avoid trouble, his boss ordered him to quickly release Shuyan, reminding him that rank has its privileges. Zhao Jian had no choice but to comply. Taijin picks up the released Shuyan. As it is a crucial moment in the election, Taijin hopes for Shuyan can quit the museum job to avoid being affected by his negative news. His proposal instantly angered Shuyan.
생각하지 마. 내 인생은 내가 결정하는 거야. 당신 야망만 원대한 꿈이고 내 꿈은 족밥이냐?
The old lady slammed the brakes and stopped the car by the roadside, then got out to smoke and unwind. Shuyan followed, lighting a cigarette for herself. Facing the inner rage, Taijun seems unable to clarify its origin.
민국당 얘기, 미래부름 얘기.
난 검찰에도 다녀왔고 회원 사모님 자격증은 딴 거다.
Shuyan went to report safety to Shen Jihao, who naturally embraced her, but this scene was unexpectedly seen by Mei Min. While the two were leaving, he opened Shen Jua's computer. When he saw a video of the two in bed, Min Shizhang was overjoyed and quietly copied a copy to a USB drive. Xiaozong found Shouyan and told him about Taijun and Xiao Mei. Shouyan said he didn't believe it, but after Xiaozong left, he dressed up and set out to meet Xiao Mei. Shuyan scolded Xiao Mei harshly, knowing she was in the wrong. Xiao Mei didn't dare to retort. Shuyan brought Taijun to the rooftop. Taijun swore he didn't cheat, but Shuyan was only worried about being implicated if caught.
야, 너 힐러리 같다.
그러니까 당신도 클린턴 되고 나서 사고 치.
Taijun was somewhat taken aback. He realized that Shuyan had become so unfamiliar, but wasn't he also the same? The male president suddenly approached Taijun, stating that he would no longer consider investing in Citizen Bank. He learned from various inquiries that Bai Guangshen is not simple, and he no longer trusts them.
그래도 한의원한테는 전해주세요. 또 한 번 사람 보내자 괴롭히면 당하고만 있지는 않게.
Taijun quickly ordered an investigation into Bai Guangshen and his company, the anti-Japanese group, discovering that Bai's identity was fake, and that his company was deeply involved in gambling and lending in the gray market. Taijun hurriedly went to explain the situation to An Yiyuan, but An Yiyuan didn't care at all. He only cared about how much he could profit from the Citizens Bank. The commander can no longer endure.
투자하겠다는 기업들, 제대로 된 기업들인지 파악부터 하겠습니다.
아니 진짜 좀 문제네 진짜.
The male president underestimated his opponent. He was taken to the basement by Bai Guangxian's men and beaten up. Just when he was brought to despair, a mysterious figure in a cartoon costume appeared. The male president stared at him in shock, unsure if he was friend or foe. Soon, the mysterious figure decisively revealed the answer. The male president was beaten up and received a box lunch. The mysterious person returned to the car, took off the helmet, and it turned out to be President Han.
강태준 걱정 마세요. 내가 안희연하고 같이 만나기로. 장 사장은 정리했다고 안희연한테 전해.
It turns out that Bai Guangshen was just a decoy. The mastermind behind the confrontation group is President Han himself. Meanwhile, Taijun visits Zheng Xinyu in the hospital. The elderly man is no longer in life-threatening condition. He asked Taijun about his snack shop, revealing that everything was arranged by An Yiyuan. As long as Zheng Xinyu follows the plan, he can avoid paying rent. That night, Taijun went to reconcile with An Yuan, and straight to the point, he spoke to Baek Guanghyun. They clarified the deal with Zheng Xinyu. The two remained silent, and Bai Guangxian picked up a sharp knife to start cutting meat.
내가 좋아하는 부위는 아킬레스건 때문에 사람이 뒤지.
Bai Guangxian whispered to Taijun about his morning run with Xu Yan. Taijun realizes he has fallen into the scheme of these people. They are exploiting Taijun's passion for ideals to fulfill their own dirty desires. Chairman Han's son Jason suddenly flew back from the United States. He headed straight to the art museum, constantly complaining about the messy materials.
반장 자리는 생각 조금 더 해봐야겠어요.
While An told Xu Yan that Jason was specifically called back by President Han to take over the director position, Xu Yan left in despair, but fate's joke was far from over. Mayor Min's email pushed him directly into the abyss. Looking at himself in the video, Xu Yan knew it was all over. He humbly went to Mayor Min's house and knelt before him with a thud. Seeing Xu Yan humbly concede without dignity, Mayor Min was very
재벌들만 겁 없이 사는 거. 당신은 그러면 안 돼. 겁내야지. 나도 겁내고 이 화란도 겁내고.
Yes, I am truly satisfied. Xu Yan put on black stockings and heavy makeup to meet President Han, who continued to give her false hope. Claiming she would have opportunities for promotion, Xu Yan overcomes her inner disgust and slowly approaches President Han.
확실한 게 좋아요.
확실한 거? 확실한 거 좋았지. 임비서!
The secretary helped the two tidy up the sleeping area. It's called a bed, but it's actually a giant canvas. After Chairman Han poured a bucket of paint over himself, he stuck it to Su Yun sitting beside him. Xu Yan cannot refuse. President Han forcefully pulls open her bathrobe, and the camera shutter unexpectedly clicks. Huailan strides over with the attitude of a victor.
잘 찍어. 현장 검거랄까? 우리 민사적으로 얼마나 배상해야 될까?
President Han left in a huff. Sitting still, unsure if his choice was right or wrong, worried that Zheng Xinyu might cause trouble with reckless words, and Yi Yin had someone end his life. Although it was eventually packaged as an accident, Taijun knew it was related to Councillor An. He rushed to An's office to get clarity, but ran into Bai Gangxian coming out. Bai Gangxian hinted he was behind it, which infuriated Taijun, but unexpectedly, he was first knocked to the ground by Bai Gangxian. Taijun decided to go down in flames and unilaterally held a press conference.
오늘부로 시민은행 프로젝트를 일시 중단합니다.
Ignoring the reporter's questions, Taijun turned and left. Huailan took Xu Yan to a Japanese restaurant and handed her the contract they had agreed upon. In the contract, Xu Yan achieved her desired position as curator, but she didn't expect that Huailan added Jason as a curator at the end. Xu Yan obviously cannot accept Huailan ordering to open the partition door. President Han and Jason are actually sitting next door. Jason opens that door, leaving Xu Yan feeling uneasy. In the battle video, President Han recounted the couple's scandals, and Xu Yan realized she lost her last bit of dignity, bowing her head and unable to look at anyone. President Han stated his conditions. Come to my house at 7 Claire, we are trying hard, have you taken the medicine? Hana, Lan hinted that Xu Yan should carefully consider the contract and President Han's terms, as missing this opportunity would make it difficult for him to rise again. The platform should transfer it to our book. He tricked IG for half a month, showing off. After much deliberation, Yun finally signed his name on the contract, marking a significant step forward in the agreement. Taijun found Xiaomei, and he wanted to know how much she really knew about these matters of the congressman. Xiaomei asked what Zheng Xinyu and Taijun actually discussed in the ward.
감사하다고. 시민은행이 꼭 성공해야 된다고.
It's too quiet. He admits that he was momentarily blinded by desire, but his conscience prevents him from continuing with the murderers. He pleads with Xiaomei to help him. Xiaomei finally, persuaded by Taijun, that night he broke into An Yuan's office and obtained documents about the government's collusion with Future Group to finance through a civic bank. Looking at the solid evidence on this page of black and white, Taijun felt complicated. It turns out that the so-called upper class hides so much dirt and darkness. But if we report them like this, the hopes of the Citizens Bank will be completely dashed. The elder contemplated for a long time and decided to take a risk. He approached President Han, threatening with the information and demanding 30 billion won. Chairman Han did not agree. Taijun turned and left.
저 새끼 저거 지 마누라 동영상 알고서 저럴까? 그래서 사람들이 보험을
Chairman Han called Shuyan to intercept Taijun. Because of the video, Shuyan can only be Han's puppet now. He did his best to persuade Taijun, hoping he would stop entangling with President Han. But Taijun couldn't listen at all. He only wanted to fight to the end. Shuyan could no longer hold back.
까불면 자긴 무사할 것 같아? 여기까지 어떻게 올라왔니? 그냥 개같이 살자.
Taijin organized the files and was ready to leave, but unexpectedly, Shuyan rushed over and shredded the documents page by page. Taijin hurriedly pushed her away and began picking up the scattered pieces. Shuyan went back to her room to get the USB drive.
네 마음대로 해.
Viewing the images on the USB drive, Taijin was stunned. After a brief calm, he decided to clarify things with Shuyan face to face. Taijin knocked on the door for a while, but Shuyan didn't respond. Taijin felt uneasy and forcefully broke down the door. Due to emotional distress causing uterine fibroid bleeding, Shuyan has already fainted in the restroom, and Taijun hurriedly took her to the hospital. Taijun learned from the doctor that Shuyan had been enduring by taking medication because she refused to have her uterus removed. He looks at the sleeping Shuyan, deep in thought. The next day, during lunch, Taijin placed a USB drive on the table. I jumped over independently to participate. The exhibition took place as scheduled, attended by notable figures from politics and business. Gradually, everyone was drawn to a giant electronic screen and started gathering around it. Shoyang-he, Taijun stands behind the crowd, while Suyan tries to light a cigarette but can't due to her shaking hands. Taijun gently helped him light it. Not this kind, more coughing. I see clearly now. On the screen, the footage of Shuyan's unwilling path begins, and the audience reacts with sighs. Shuyan mustered her courage and walked step by step to the center of the stage, opening her heart to share her understanding of desire with everyone. It is precisely because of the pursuit of these desires that Shuyan has brought herself into an irretrievable situation, and now, Shuyan has finally decided to face these painful desires head-on.
부끄럽지 않습니다. 전 제가 자랑스럽습니다. 뻔뻔한 제 자신이 자랑스럽습니다.
The right eye looked teary-eyed at everyone, feeling the hope of rebirth. President Han sensed trouble and quietly left the art museum. Meanwhile, Inspector Cao received the complaint materials from Taijun and arrested everyone involved at the Citizen Bank Foundation site. Taijun and Tao Jian stood outside the venue, and Tao Jian noticed Taijun. He reduced the file, asking him why he did it.
다 까발려서 시민은행이 무선되면 좋을 게 또 뭐겠어. 나쁜 돈이라도 좋은데 잘 쓰면.
Despite years of conflict, Xu Yan resigned as the director and took over the defunct alternative space. He opened the curtains, sunlight streamed in, and the rescue decision started anew from here. People are often controlled by desires, sometimes cloaked in the halo of love, other times seen as ideals. Ideals are indeed beautiful, but they can also evoke the darkness of human nature. The upper class originally depicted the dirt and corruption within the art galleries and political circles of South Korea's upper class, but ultimately it unintentionally shifted towards a positive message. The ending leaves one reflecting on the complexity and variability of human nature, like being splashed with a bucket of cold water. In fact, the glamorous upper class may not be as splendid as it appears.